Hey everyone, Miss Got Rich here. I wanted to do another drawing activity with you. I got a lot of good feedback from Happy the Crayon, so you can go and look for that video. But this one is going to be a fox, and I actually borrowed this this lesson from Deep Space Sparkle, and she did a Facebook Live video on how to draw this fox, but she painted hers. And I wanted to give an option of just doing it with crayon for my kiddos, because I know a lot of them don't actually have paint at home. And I know that the students miss seeing a lot of the teachers' faces. So I wanted to just do my own video with this awesome project. So we are going to draw the fox first with either a pencil or a permanent marker. If you don't plan on using water, you can use just a regular washable marker, but I'm gonna use water on mine. I'm not doing it with your typical watercolor paint, although you can if you want to. I'm actually going to use washable marker, and I'm gonna show you this really cool technique to basically paint with watercolor markers, which is a lot of fun. So if you feel like you need to sketch yours first and draw yours with pencil first, make sure you have a pencil, and feel free to do that and then go over it again later on with marker, or you can just draw with marker. I have a sketchbook paper, kind of a scrap paper next to me to kind of practice a few things before I draw them. That's a good tip for you as well. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, so to draw our fox, the first line we're gonna do is the top of the head, which is an arch line or a rainbow line. So it's not a tall rainbow line, but it's a nice, pretty arch. And we're gonna do it kind of over here. You wanna leave room for ears or flowers or anything that you might wanna do in the background. So don't do it all the way to the side. So we're not gonna start all the way over here. We're gonna bring it in some. And then we're not going to, when we start drawing it, we're not gonna bring it all the way to the top of the paper, because then you'll run out of room for your ears. Out right here, and I'm just gonna do a nice arch shape, like that. Try and end it about the same spot on the other side, okay? Now I'm gonna do the nose, and the nose is going to be in the middle down here, but it's going to be a little bit lower. So you can put your finger where you think the middle of the bottom of the arch is, and then just drag your finger a little bit lower, about right there. And I'm going to do a circle shape, and go ahead and kind of color that in. I'm going to leave a little white spot so his nose looks shiny. Now I'm going to do a line from here to here, but I don't want it to be necessarily a straight line. So I'm going to kind of arch it, kind of in a little bit, do a curved line from the nose to the fur that's sticking out on the side over here, like that. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. Ta-da. Now for the fur, this is just a zigzag line, kind of like a sideways W or a sideways M, and I'm going to kind of curve it a little bit to make it look like the fur is kind of tilting down towards the ground. And then once you do that last one, you can actually go ahead and bring that back into the nose, tip of the nose there. So I start not on the end, I start a little bit further in, and then I go ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, ziggy zaggy, and then bring it in, like that. Now about the same distance apart from the nose on either side is where I'm gonna put the eyes, but they're gonna be up. So I'm gonna bring my fingers out, and then I'm gonna bring them up a little bit. I don't want them too high, because that would be where his forehead is. So I'm gonna bring them out about right here, do some circle shapes, about the same size as your nose is fine. And then I also color those in. If you're doing this with pencil and you wanna go over it, all the pencil lines with a black marker, you can just wait and color your eyes in with the marker instead of coloring them in with the pencil. because pencil tends to smear when you color something in with pencil. All right, so now for the ears. The ears are gonna be kind of like A shapes, like an upside down V, but they're not straight. They're kind of curved as well. So let's see, I'm gonna go up and then down, kind of like an upside down triangle almost. Now, if you end up doing a V shape, let's see, kind of like this, that would still be, that would be really cute. So you could still do a like an upside down V, and it would still look like a good ear. So you could do that. And now for the inside of the ear, I'm gonna go close to the middle of the head and just draw like a little, boop, the same line as the side of the ear. So whatever ear type you draw, do that same line and just do like that, so it looks like he has the inside of the ear looking at you. Now I'm going to do his fur that kind of hangs down in the front, and I have two different ways to do that, and you could even make up your own way. This one looks more like fire. It's kind of a fire line over down here. This one's more of a wavy line. This one is easier to do. This one's a little bit more difficult. If you want to do this one, might want to do that with pencil first, or try it on a scrap sheet of paper first, just to make sure you got it. So I'm going to start about the middle of the fur right here, and I'm going to try to end it over here on the middle of the fur on this side, so it's balanced on both sides. So I'm going to kind of do a wavy line going down and then come back up. So that was an easy just a wavy line going down and then kind of bring it back up. And it's okay if it's super pointy at the bottom. That'll still be cute. If you want to draw some texture lines inside right there, definitely do that too. Now his back is just going to, well, his whole body is just going to be like this curved line, a very simple line. I'm gonna start right underneath his fur right here. So I'm not starting it on the edge of his fur, I'm starting it down here. And I'm going to sweep it down kind of like an S line. And then I'm going to bring it back down and kind of meet it not quite at the bottom of this fur, more about right there, okay? So you wanna know where you're starting and ending so that you don't mess up too bad. So I know that big lines like this can be intimidating for little minds. All right, so I'm going to start about right here, and I'm gonna sweep it in, and then I'm gonna go back in, and try that with pencil if you're scared, okay? If you think you might mess it up, don't get intimidated. You can always try it with pencil and draw lightly, and then go back over it, okay? Now my little feetsies are just gonna be simple curved lines here. They're just gonna kind of stick out here like that. I'm gonna do one little foot sticking out underneath them in the back. And then if you want to draw little toes, you can. Those are super easy to do. Now his tail is super fun to draw. So I'm gonna start about right here towards his bottom. And I'm going to sweep it up. And then I'm going to do another S line. An S line is a line that's kind of curvy, like an S or a snake. So I'm gonna go up and then sweep it back down, and I'm going to meet it down here towards the back of his bottom, okay? So let's see, ready? And then whoosh. So the tip of his tail, usually the fox has white on the tip of their tail, so I'm going to draw a line to divide the white from the color. It's just a zigzag line. There we go. Awesome, so y'all did great. If you want to take your marker and just draw some texture lines, you can, or you can do that later on with the coloring part. If you want to pause it right here on this, you can pause that right there and look at these flowers if you'd like when you're drawing the background. I did mess up a little bit right there. I kind of overlapped those flowers. I didn't mean to do that. Now I wrote easy up here because I tried to do the easier flowers towards the top, and the more complicated flowers that just take a little bit of practice down here. So these would be maybe our younger students and or our more beginning students, and here's our more advanced students. And you can always add as many details as you want to your flowers. This is your background. I want you to be creative. You don't have to do anything that I'm doing. You can kind of go with it and do your own thing. This is just kind of a fun guide here. So you also don't have to draw the grass. You can just kind of draw your background however you'd like. Let's see, one of my favorite flowers to do, I'll just start down here, is a wavy spiral. Ooh. And then I meet the ends, and that gives me kind of like this cool rose shape. And then I'm going to do some oval shapes coming out to look like leaves. All right, that's my background. Quick note, in the video, I actually call the markers that I'm using watercolor markers. They are not watercolor markers. They are just plain, regular, washable markers. My bad. I'm going to give you a couple of options. This one is just crayon. Crayon is super simple and it still looks bright and beautiful, and you can overlap the crayons to make new cool colors. And you can get fancy with it. You can use the same crayon and go dark and then light like I did in the background here to get different tones of that color. Now this one I did with marker. I did not watercolor this with regular watercolor paint. I did this with watercolor marker. And I'm going to show you this technique because it's a really fun technique to do. You can also, if you have watercolor paints, just use watercolor paints too. That's another option. I would not take marker and just color in the whole picture with marker. It tends to look messy when you do that. If you want to use some marker, what I recommend is doing crayon in the big, huge spaces like the background, maybe even the fox's fur, and then doing your marker in your littler things like the flower details, because the marker can be dark and it can dry out and it just tends to look messy the more that you use it. So I like to blend it in with some other elements. So I have these tend to work really well. I also have a couple of these, and then I have these skinnier ones, and they all actually say washable marker on them. If they do not say that they are a washable marker, they might not work. Like this one, I can't see washable marker on here, but I know the package said it because most Crayola markers are washable markers. What I recommend to make sure that they'll actually work is getting a scrap piece of paper and testing these out to make sure they'll actually work with the water brush. So how you paint with water with washable markers is you go over any pencil lines with a dark non-washable marker, like a permanent Sharpie, because if I were to do this with washable black marker, the black marker would also turn into watercolor paint and it would mess up your picture. It would make your fox look incredibly fuzzy. We don't want that to happen. So I drew this with a Sharpie so that that wouldn't happen. So the washable marker, you're basically going to try and get as thick as you can. So I'm not gonna draw straight up. I'm gonna kind of tilt it. I'm gonna outline all of my black lines. Now, if your marker looks like it's kind of drying out, I'm gonna show you a little trick. If you wet the tip of your marker, it will actually make your marker work a little bit better. For his bottom, I'm gonna do like a zigzag line to make it look like fur. Kind of go bring it up a little bit, just to make it fill in that white a little bit more. So you don't want big, huge white areas when you're doing this with marker, because then it'll be harder to spread the color in towards the middle. So I like to bring some of the color towards the middle so it's easier to spread. Now I'm gonna outline all of this. All right, so I outlined anywhere where there was black touching a shape, I outlined it. I put that color basically around the whole edge. And then you take a brush, and it's actually better if you use a flat tip brush, like a square shape brush, so that you can try and stay in the lines of the black. But honestly, any brush will work. It just might be a little bit trickier to use, but you can make it work. I know you can. With as much watercoloring we do in class, absolutely. So what you do is you go over the color, try and stay in the black line. I don't even paint all the way to the black line. I just kind of paint the edges, and see how it's turning into watercolor paint. Look how fun that is. And then you gotta work kind of quickly because it will dry. I'm gonna wet the brush, and I'm just gonna paint a shape at a time. So right now I'm painting his body. Look at that, fun. Now I'm gonna paint his tail. You can do your background the same way. If you don't want to watercolor paint your background, that's really hard because there's so much white space. So that's why I kind of incorporated the lines. If you use a lot of water at one time, it does do this cool trick, which you might like that, and you might want to incorporate that more. But basically you have to smear the water around as much as you can. So I just drew these lines with as much of the marker as I could. I went down sideways and just went over it several times. But you can also do your background in crayon and just do your flowers with the watercolor markers. Remember that when you are changing colors, I just did all my green at the same time. Remember that when you're changing colors, you do need to rinse your brush out. You can do anything that you want for your background. I'm choosing blue, but you don't have to do that at all. I am coloring with the crayon in one direction, so I'm going straight from the bottom to the top. You don't have to do it that way either. Obviously, this is just a tip. It makes it look a little neat when you when your crayon strokes. drawing strokes are all going in the same direction. All right, and there you go. Because I did my background in crayon, I didn't end up doing, I just decided not to do the lines. I did the lines in this background. But like I said, the lines are just for the marker part, really, to kind of make it easier to get color in that big background if that's what you choose to do. But you don't have to do that. It looks good without it. And they don't have to be straight. They could be wavy lines too. So there is a particular song that kept popping up into my brain as I was working on this project. So I decided to invite some special guests to entertain you. My students are very familiar with this song. What do you think I'm thinking of?
Dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, and frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub, and the seal goes ow, ow, ow. But there's one sound that no one knows. What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. Happy, happy, happy ho. What the fox say? What the fox say? Big blue eyes, pointy nose, chasing mice and digging holes. Tiny paws up the hill. Suddenly you're standing still. Your fur is red, so beautiful, like an angel in disguise. But if you meet a friendly horse, will you communicate by more? How will you speak to that horse? What does the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? What the fox say? What does the fox say? The secret of the fox, ancient mystery, somewhere deep in the woods. I know you're hiding. What is your sound? Will we ever know? Will always be a mystery. What do you say? You're my guardian angel, hiding in the woods. What is your sound? Will we
So that was awesome. Hope you enjoyed that. And look out for some more videos from your specials teachers. See y'all later. Bye.
Dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, and frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub, and the seal goes ow, ow.